is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Gamers Life podcast for each and every Friday/Saturday discussing all things games. I'm one of your hosts, Jarrell. With me is my co-host, Arthur Thomas, rocking the hat. What is good, man?
Doing good. It's -2 degrees.
Okay.
Tomorrow, it's actually gonna be nice. It's gonna be like 35.
All right.
And the funny thing is, I'm not liking -degree weather, but like 25 to 35, get like a little layered up. It's nice. I'm a big dude, so back home in Long Beach, it's just average. The weather would average sweat weather to like 3 months of not sweat weather, and then 9 months of sweat weather. Now, it's never sweat weather, so it's great.
Man, sounds like a pretty decent trade-off. And then joining me are new official co-host of the Games for Life podcast, Church in the building. Congrats on that, my friend. You've done some great work here on the podcast, and really excited to have you a part of the team for Games for Life. What is going on, man?
Man, it feels good, and it feels great to be official. So I'm glad to be part of the team. And nothing's going. Oh yeah, there we go.
Try to give you some claps there.
Yeah, man, I'm just excited. This is cool. I love partying with you guys. It's always been fun. So now officially being part of the team and just being on the artwork itself, I'm happy. I love that you did. I don't know if you can have it for this video, but like put me as Master Chief.
Yeah, because
my rants on Halo, man.
Yeah, no, your rants on Halo are amazing on the podcast. I was like, you know what, this guy deserves to be Master Chief.
Let's go, man. Let's go.
Yes, indeed.
Other than that, man, walk is walk. Went to Disneyland last night. They had like this Valentine's thing called like It's a Sweetheart's Night. Where I went there with my lady. That was a lot of fun.
Nice.
And then other than that, just been grinding on Final Fantasy 14. That's the game I've been playing a lot, and that's just been consuming my life.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. Another game consuming someone's life is hi-firush, which is just going crazy right now on Game Pass. It's going crazy on Steam as well. And I know Arthur has been streaming that via the Gamers for Life channel. Before we go into the topics and whatnot, Arthur, give me the deets on hi-firush, man. Let me know how do you like it?
It's really fun. At first I came into it because I didn't really watch trailers or anything like that. It was just like I just saw a bunch of stuff of like this game's really fun. It was like rhythm based. It's really fun. It's definitely in the category of like I guess you could say challenging, but it's more like it rewards you if you play into that challenge. Like early into the tutorial, they're like, "Hey, hit to the beats," and I'm like, "Oh, I have to hit every combo to the beat." Oh, I don't know if I'm coordinated for that. But no, so if you hit, your combo still lands. It's just it rewards you by doing it. And I don't know. I kind of went into it not that. I went into it like Vanquish, just button mashing and just killing everything. No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, it's very everything. It took me a really long time to play the game more like a Guitar Hero rhythm game, and just the fact that you're attacking. Like it took me a long time to really adjust to that. Definitely, it was significant into the game, like beyond the prologue where they introduced the parry system. Yeah, I did not dip my feet well into that pool. I may not have died once or twice into that parry tutorial, because it was like, okay, parry this, but then they don't really necessarily tell you, they don't baby feed it to you that the charge up rhythm is also the attack rhythm, and it made sense once I figured it out. But I'm just like, why is this guy going pew 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 pew, and this guy's going pew 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 pew? I'm just like, I couldn't figure it out. But it's a fun mix of challenging. It's fun. The audio is great. The combat's really fun. The dialogue's great. I love the character design, and you don't have to pay for it for face value if you don't want to. It's on Game Pass.
Very cool, very cool. Yeah, and because I know the Steam sales are pretty high too. So I think it's like $30 or something. So yeah, I think it's definitely a nice I mean, I actually downloaded it on my PC, so I am going to be planning on playing that. Definitely gives me a Saturday morning cartoon throwback type of vibe, and whatnot. So, very excited. Did you ever get the chance to check that out, Church? The Hi-Fi Rush?
Yeah, actually, I did. I played it a little bit last weekend. Didn't get too far into the game,
Mm.
but let me tell you, when I was watching the developer conference, I was like, "Yo, they announced this. This game is for me. This is when I was a kid,
Mm.
teenager. The shaded cell style, rhythm-based games, just the combat action. This is everything that I love. You know, rolled up in a package. Even surprised it came from what Tango 10 Studio, I guess so.
Mm.
The people that make
Yeah, Tango.
Evil Within, I think, yeah. It was fun. Like Arthur said, it took a minute to get into like the attack rhythms. But maybe because I have like a musical background a little bit, you know, play the clarinet and like the saxophone. So I was like, okay, it's like tapping my foot with the X button and just the rhythm of a combo like a Devil May Cry.
Mm.
I got to it pretty quick. The heavies were kind of hard to get into because it's like tap. It's like it's a 2-4, like
Mm.
Joe, like as opposed to like a 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
with
yeah.
the light attacks.
Yeah.
But it's been fun. I love the voice acting. It seems really awesome. Everything seems smooth. And what I love about it is the music. I love rock. And I love how the world is moving to the music constantly.
Mm.
Like doors are opening to the sound of the beat as you just progression. So it's a quality product. And like Arthur said, and I know we talk about Game Pass all the time. The entry to try is free, so why not give it a go?
Mm.
You know, like it's a fun game. So
Nice.
I'm gonna
Nice.
grind it out eventually after Final Fantasy, but I'm liking it so far.
Very cool. Very cool. So, if you're just joining us, hello. Be sure to like and subscribe on the channel for Gamers for Life podcast. Getting some episodes in on the YouTube. So, definitely do that. There's a bunch of great videos on there. If you are also on there, you're going to be able to see Arthur's live streams as well that he does for the channel. We have a bunch of audio content as well. And to see everything else regarding to Gamers for Life, you can go to linktree.com/Gamers for Life, the number 4 life. That is the one-stop link to all of our content. And here at the Gamers for Life podcast, we read the news while you can watch or listen to what you choose by clicking on the links to the time code within the description of the episode, so you can go to the specific topic that you care about, or you could just hang out with us here at the Gamers for Life podcast. And as we've been covering, we will continue to cover is the Last of Us HBO series. They dropped the episode 3, and episode 3 has definitely I wouldn't say controversial, but definitely the most different, diverting from just the 1-to-1 ratio as far as the game to adaptation to the show. And a lot of people had a lot of interesting responses to it. Of course, I watched it myself. Did everyone watch it here for the
Yeah.
episode 3?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
I paid for my HBO Max.
Whoa,
Oh, they
look at
cornered you.
you.
They cornered you.
Making money, man.
Hey, I agree with Church. I would say other than Game Pass, it's probably the best service you're gonna pay for. So
Yeah.
good stuff there. Church, let me start with you. What were your thoughts on episode 3?
So let's see, what do I want to begin on this one? You know what? It's been a while since I played Last of Us, so I'm not familiar with everything that kind of happened.
Okay.
So when are we going into spoilers in this? Are we talking about it?
Yeah. So anyone watching this, I'm sorry. Last of Us is it's a very old game in video game years. We're spoiling the shit.
So I loved the episode. I thought it was really good. I thought the casting for Bill was spot on. I didn't remember who Bill was when I was watching the episode.
Okay.
Matter of fact, it was Ellie. You know, she put me on game as I was watching the episode. So I was introduced to Bill. I love the whole love story dynamic they had, and just how it paced out, and how you kind of get the experience of how life was at the beginning of the outbreak and through the 20 years that we know has passed since, like, I guess 2003.
Yeah.
I thought the casting was good, even for Frank. I thought it was at a point in the game there was like 2 lovers that were in a bedroom that like died in the original game. So me and Ellie were watching and we're like, hey, you know, that's that one room where you walk in and see two people dead in the bed that commit suicide. It's like, yo, is it just that random scene from the story that they took? And then we later progressed, like, no, this is actually Bill and Frank. I forgot about Bill in the game for a second. And I loved it. Even the diverging from the actual game, bro. Well, I guess Bill and Frank had a falling out, you know, they were not close anymore.
Yeah.
Now they decided to make it like a happy ending, you know, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it, man. I think it was done very well, bro.
Nice.
Oh, and then we got the original costumes at the end of the episode too. Like, well, let's go. We're in Kelton now. Like,
there we go. There we go. Or what were your thoughts, Arthur?
I liked it. I came into it mixed, wondering when's the flashback gonna end? When's the flashback gonna end? But I gotta say, I was happy with it. I mean, because mind you, I don't have as much memory or hands-on like immersion because I did not play Last of Us. I never bought a PS3, 4, or 5. So again, for me, this is like to a point with an asterisk, and like kind of truly the first episode where I was like, okay, I don't really remember this part in the game as like source material. So how they did it, I liked it. You know, when it comes to entertainment, especially with shows and movies, I'm a simple guy. Like, was it? You know, I always say like Russell Crowe in The Gladiator. Was I entertained? I was entertained. I liked it. Surprisingly, I thought it was like sort of like anime-y because in the sense I'm like, we're gonna do this whole backstory. I get like 5 minutes of present tense, and to a point, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
I liked it. I mean, because to a point when that form was done in anime, it's done pretty good.
Yeah.
You can't underestimate the power of friendship in anime.
I mean, the elephant. I guess you could say not the elephant in the room, but like, I guess what some people say would be controversy was that, like, again, I didn't play the game, so I had to Google it. I had to Google it. Was after I watched the episode, I typed was Bill, and then my search bar finished it. Was Bill gay in the Last of Us game? Like, it just finished it. I just didn't know because I sort of remember because I watched the playthrough of it. I sort of remember it. He was like the survivalist, apocalyptic prepper, and so I remember him being kind of they did it differently. Again, like Church was saying, the adaptation was not 101 for the first time we've seen, but they did it well. It was a pretty good emotional story, and again, for the first time, really, where I would say this is really one of the first times we're really seeing, again, I mean, it's one episode, not a whole movie, where the adaptation was not one for one. It was like one of those just loosely based in it, but they did the creative thing to it. They did it really well. We've seen a ton of adaptations for movies, not so much shows, but other movies where they've like done sort of that thing where let's base it here and just change all this stuff. And you're like, oh, that's just crap.
Yeah.
But I did like it. I gotta say though, man, watching this episode, I was like, I feel like there's a lot more skills I should learn in this world just in case.
Yeah. The guy was a genius, man. He knew how to do everything.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I wanted to get into my my thought on here, but before that, I wanted to. I always like seeing what the people are saying as far as for when it comes to the episodes and whatnot. So GameSpot,
let's go for the comment section.
yeah, definitely. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was to talk about was the GameSpot. They put up a poll, basically saying, did you enjoy Last of Us Episode 3 Departure from the Game? And about 53,650 people voted on the poll. And 75% said yes, 25% said no. So I thought that was interesting. And then as far as for what the people are saying, I did some screenshotting on here. Let's see. So one person said, didn't even know Bill was gay. Just beat the first one recently again on PS5. Another person said they need to release the Mason cut. Not sure what that means. One person said, a great episode, so well written and directed. The homophobe tears are just a bonus. Okay. Let's see. 90% of the episode was to tell a story of a secondary character, just to justify a letter that will change Joel's mind about Ellie. A story good, thou, but irrelevant. Wanted to see more between Joel and Ellie. I disagree with that. It's just context. And this is after Last of Us 2. I had zero hopes for this show. Man, this was such a surprise. Can't wait for the ending. Yeah, just, some people are just weird, huh? Yeah. So it seems like overall people like it. And then as far as for me, yeah, I did enjoy it, and there's a couple of different things that I thought were interesting that they made this direction. I forgot Bill was gay. I remembered him loosely, because
I
it's
mean,
been so long.
is he gay though? I don't think he ever said it in the game. I think he referred to Frank as his partner, which, could be his partner or just like his buddy.
He was
Was it ambiguous and intentionally?
Neil
You know,
Druckmann wrote him as a gay
Sorry,
character.
just,
he did.
Yeah,
just the way Church, just the way
yeah.
Church said that, it sounded like an uncle denial. That's not his partner. That's just his buddy.
It's like, I don't remember.
No, man, that's just his homie,
No,
cuz.
just the way
That's
he
just his
said
homie.
That's your partner. I was like, yo, that's my partner over there.
I get where
I'm
you're
from like the
coming from.
Midwest and
I
the South, and
absolutely
I
get where you're coming
use
from.
partner, right,
Yeah.
as like the homie. That's my partner right there. So I didn't know
It was
in the
just your
game if they
it was
just
just your
left it kind of
phrasing.
ambiguous, right?
That's
Or
his special buddy.
what
Sorry.
were they holding hands in the game? I forget. I didn't know.
No. I think that's a good question. I think that was because I did the same thing that Arthur did. Was
Googled
Bill
it.
gay in the game? You know what I mean? Because I think it's relevant just because we always talk about like pandering and
Netflix.
pandering and shit like that, right? Or as far as sometimes shows like to do a spin on something just to get you thinking, or just to make you just to drive
box.
something, just to drive, check a box, if you will. But yeah, I was looking up Neil Druckmann. Initially wrote him as a gay character, but just didn't like expand on like the context of the story or whatnot in the game, obviously. But I thought it was well written. I thought it was well done. My big, and then one of the things too, around the end of the episode, I feel like Ellie and Joel are really starting to connect better with each other. Bella Ramsey, I believe that's her name. I was getting frustrated with myself on not remembering the actress's name. I keep saying Pedro Pascal and Ellie. So Bella Ramsey, I think because their chemistry in the truck before as they're driving. I'm starting to feel finally like that, that kinship or just that connection. You know what I mean? And obviously it happens after, Bill he reads Bill's letter. And then you sense that feeling of how he felt about Tess, you know what I mean? Cause he was kind of stone faced throughout the way, cause they kind of had to because of situations and whatnot. So, but I thought in that truck, you're really starting to feel their connection, which was very exciting because to your point, Church, as far as like, if they're going to be just like, like he's his babysitting and that's it. Like I don't know how season 2 is going to be. But the biggest excitement for me about this episode is the fact that they did this, the partnering for the game. I think it's going to be, to me, this gives me hope for season 2. Because as we talked about last episode, they kind of had to depart from a few things from the game or add clarity or certain things to make season 2 at least enjoyable to people that aren't familiar with The Last of Us 2 playing the game. You know what I mean? And we talked about the chronological order, how like that has to be changed. But the fact that they did this for episode 3, I thought was really neat. But also it gives me hope that they can make some changes or not changes, but just see different perspectives for season 2, which can make it maybe more enjoyable. So I think them taking risks like this, I thought was really cool. And then obviously this is kind of like a separate point, but it's a very much I don't know if I should say this, but I guess I will. As far as just like that type of story being on that type of story being shown, I thought it was great. It's definitely a part of HBO's demo too, because they're very much expressive on like on that, you know what I mean, like The Wire and you know, Game of
Euphoria.
Thrones, Euphoria, like, you know, so
Wait.
it definitely fits in that demo too. Probably irrelevant to the conversation of games, but just to mention. But anyways, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. Anyone else had any additional?
Yeah, I do. I just I don't know if I kind of have a different takeaway from uh Joel's and Ellie's relationship at the end of the episode.
Okay.
And it's kind of to Arthur's point he mentioned. We didn't see a lot of them on the screen. And I felt a little bit closer to them because Bill's and Frank's things were so emotional, right? That like, dang, it's like this is really sad. And then I'm ending the episode with Ellie and Joel. So like the emotion is carrying over to them. But I don't know. I haven't really seen them interact that much to say if I really believe the bond at this point.
Yeah.
I'm happy they got into the iconic clothing, and they're beginning the journey in the truck, and they're a team now, and the writing so far, and how they're displaying it with this, they can add weight to scenes. So I'm hopeful for that.
Yeah.
But I got to see what happens on the actors at that point.
And I think that
I don't know. I just don't feel it yet. I'm not saying the bad acting. It's just like, I'm just waiting for like that. I'm waiting for her to mention a comic book or a toy or something. Just like, we could have had an entire episode of, Ellie doing that as opposed to putting all this emotional, like, weight into like Bill and Frank.
Yeah.
Like secondary characters. I don't know. What do you guys think? I don't think it's badly written or direction. It was a great episode, but could have been better served somewhere else. I don't know.
I think it's it's a fair point you make as far as like, like it's only episode 3. It's only episode 3. Like I'm not entirely super invested yet with Joel because we haven't had that time together with them. So I think that's definitely a relevant point to make. And I think part of me thinks that was the reason why it was in fact the last 5 minutes, and maybe there's some method to their madness, right? Maybe in fact he did want to, or the team behind the show, they did want to have that impactfulness with Bill, especially because of them knowing that they are going to go to his place, read the letter and everything. And then maybe it was intentional for them to have that whole, like, oh man, like that really sucks that those people like died in such like a Shakespeare way, you know what I mean? And then just kind of like maybe like feeling a little bit of that bond, because like during all of this, so I think there might have been some type of intention with that, I mean, to your point. So I think that's a really interesting point that you make. That's definitely relevant. One thing I thought was funny. Oh, you know what? Go ahead, Arthur. Did you have any thoughts to what he said?
Yeah. What's up, Arthur?
Yeah, I was gonna say more to like what Drell was saying. To at least when we're talking about like Bill and Frank's relationship, and we were saying how like it's not that common in games. I'll go on a slight like positive tangent for that, because I know like we're saying loyalty offer and we're like, hey, we're just like there. As much as Drell and I and a lot of people like joke about, it's called what it is, like gay relationships in like in positive ways. We joke on Netflix, like we have openly joked on Netflix where it's like, oh, they're gonna make a movie about this and he's gay, because there's a difference between, for me, when it comes to storytelling, whether it's games or not, there's a difference between like pandering, taking a box. Like I want your characters to be good characters. Make your villains, make your heroes, your anti-heroes in that category, etc. And we've had a lot of storylines nowadays where their character trait is like, oh, he's gay. Like, okay, well, that's just okay. That's a thing. But like, what's their main origin? What's it like? No, that's it, and it kind of shows. So when I saw this, again, as much as like a lot of people, including myself, have like joked on Netflix for making shows that just feel like tick a box instead of writing a good story or making good drama and making good characters, making good script. I really like this because it was just a great emotional baggage, like hitting story that to a point came out of nowhere because it to a point did stray from the source material. Like people that if someone had like just had played that entire segment of the game an hour right before this episode dropped, really to a point wouldn't have seen this episode coming. And I really do like the way they did it. I can see why some people might be upset or like, oh, I'm not watching Last of Us anymore. I'm like, okay, whatever, just keep up with the rest of us. It was a good story.
Yeah.
It was a really good story. Um, and in terms of the whole, like, again, towards the show, I kind of to a point like church. I wish I would have got more, but at the same time, it's like, again, like, this comes back to the classic struggle of games adaptations. Okay, how much of a character do we make Bill? Do we make him a huge ongoing character, like 3 episodes, like three? Let's put it the numbers. Is he a 3 episode character? Is he a 2 episode character? Okay, he's a 1 episode character. Okay, well, how do we make Bill a memorable character in 1 episode? This is how.
Mm-hmm.
They made a very memorable character, a very important character from the game, to a point, a 1 episode character. If we receive Bill again, it might be another flashback, but they gave him closure. So I don't see how we did that. So my kind of 2 cent rant was, again, just as much as we've seen sort of similar narratives on other mediums and other, let's say, streaming services not done well.
Yeah.
I was really impressed how they did this. And then 2, again, my classic struggle of how they make adaptation from a 36-hour, 60-hour game into like a 12-episode hour each 12-hour show. Again, how did the challenges? How do we make a 1 episode character memorable? This is how.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing I was happy about.
There's good. So there's some good points there, Arthur. It's funny. Like, it's a lot of people were kind of mirroring like that episode with like the intro for Up.
Yeah, it was like,
I was like,
a lot of people just calling what it was. It was like gay up. But it was a great emotion. Yeah, I mean, like, just it's like, it was just really, it's like, how do you punch me in the gut? Like, coming into the show, I'm expecting like zombies, and I'm like, I wanted a zombie show.
Yeah, I think one of my favorite one of my favorite things about, I guess, that episode, before we move on, is how Nick Offerman, who played Bill, how you really sense that you really sense how he's been so disconnected with society, and how he has these feelings, but he's very, very like. He's like reluctant but scared to like to have those feelings, you know what I mean? So I just thought he played that so well, where he's just like, I don't trust anybody, like I have these weapons, like and then like inviting this person into his space, that he ends up falling in love with, but you sense this apprehensiveness, this really strong apprehensiveness, you know what I mean? And then eventually he, you like literally see him like like open his heart eventually. And then all the other things transpire. I just thought it was really beautiful, well acted. Because if it wasn't well acted, it's almost kind of like, man, like this is kind of like disrespectful, like many ways. You know what I mean?
If you want to get a little artsy, but.
And I was gonna say, like, Frank, came into the Bill's life and just like he's no longer surviving, taught him how to live.
Right.
You were just surviving the apocalypse. Now we're about to live. We're gonna make it our home and kind of stuff. And
exactly.
And and they made the best out of the 16 years I think they had with each other, man.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Exactly. So, I wanted to go to the developer direct, because Church brought that up to us after the end of our last recording, and we said, "Oh shit, we didn't talk about the developer direct." So, I guess I'll start with you, Church, since I know you watched it. And just want to get your thoughts on it. So yeah, what did you think of the developer direct that happened? What was it, the 25th of January? I forgot. It was right.
Yeah, I think the 25th. Let's go with that. Correct us in the comments if we're wrong.
Yes.
I thought for the develop, it was really cool because for 2022 being so slow for Xbox, it was cool. Like, first of the year, let's get some type of information from Xbox. Like, what can we expect? Especially when it comes to the major hitters. No news from Starfield yet, right? So that was on the backbone, but we at least knew what this was going to be about. So I think it was cool. I think this was for like the hardcore audience. We wanted these details. And they showed gameplay, right? Which is more than just like CGI trailers. They showed gameplay, like this is what's coming, this is what the game looks. So I think this is the format of how I personally like to receive gaming news. And like the show me who's making it, show me a cool trailer, then to dive into it and show me the actual gameplay. With that being said, my mind, who was the first game that showed? I forgot. Right?
The order was Minecraft Legends.
Thank you.
Forza, Elder Scrolls Online, Redfall.
Yeah, so
and hi-firush.
Hi-firush, which is like a high point for me of the show. Yeah. So Minecraft Legends, totally interested in playing that game. Like I didn't know what this game was, from the initial trail. They dive into it, showed some of the gameplay mechanics. It's like, I love it. Boom, release date even more. Same thing with like Forza. And then we get the surprise drop of hi-firush. It was like this is a shadow drop of the game, which I think is like the perfect way to release that game. Maybe if you had a release date, it would have been overshadowed with the month of February with everything coming out, like all these major hits. Just shadow drop it real quick. People get it on the news, and then people can play it the same day. I think they need to do more of that. Like I have a theory that Starfield is going to be shadow drop after this shadow drop. We could get into that a little bit later, a little bit. But my overall impressions was great, man. And I got to see more Redfall, so I'm amazed with it. So yeah,
nice. A lot of gameplay Redfall. A
I
lot
know.
of gameplay Redfall.
Yeah.
What'd you think about it, Arthur?
I loved it. When it comes to like not just good characters but games, say less, do more. I mean, when it comes to game showcases, that means talk less about it and just show me it. Like
show me, bro.
Like,
I'm from Missouri, state of show me.
I would have never guessed. Like, I would have never guessed from the debut announcement trailer of Minecraft Legends that we're gonna get like a Minecraft Pikmin. Mm-hmm. I would have never guessed that. And so seeing the gameplay, extensive gameplay, they did a lot of PvP. That was another thing that was announced. They went in depth to the PvP. I have paid attention to those just because I hard turn to PvE versus PvP. But I always have friends that like PvP, so I join them, and I'll just join as support. It's like, hey, I'm not doing good kills, but you're alive, so you're welcome. I don't know if that will work for Minecraft Legends, but again, we got a lot of gameplay. Again, cooperative. You tell me Game Pass. You tell me cooperative. Hits all of my boxes. I'm loving it. Nice. And I'm biased because Minecraft's on my fantasy draft team, so I'm looking forward to getting when Church initially was like Minecraft Legends, I don't know, and now he's like, hey, it's looking pretty good. That's good news for me.
Yes. Kudos to you for drafting that.
One thing I will say, a game I kind of want to dip my feet back into because I'm still hearing good, consistent things about it. It just, for me, I don't know if I can invest my time into it, but Elder Scrolls Online.
Yeah.
So not only is this game still in Game Pass, I think they announced a huge, massive announcement that's big for any MMO on face value. Yeah. Now, as of right now, all their previous chapters are available for trial. All of them. There was cool. There were like on screen, I think there was like what 20 plus. There was a lot. So if you're gonna tell me that there's an MMO with a ton of chapters, a ton of updates, a ton of expansions, to a point if you haven't touched the game at all, for some people it might be intimidating of like, okay, how far back am I jumping into? So for them, one, to have this on Game Pass, and then two, to say, hey, you're gonna get a free trial of all this stuff. And they definitely hit their mark. They knew who they were talking to. They were talking to, yes, MMO fans, but they're talking to Elder Scrolls fans. So they were saying, hey, are you a fan of Morrowind? Boom, we have a Morrowind expansion. Are you a fan of this? Boom, we have this expansion. And so that like those are again the perfect mix of like a conference or a showcase for Elder Scrolls Online. It was just that good mix of like, hey, we know what you want. You want immersion, you want major maps, you want your spells, you want your talents, and they addressed all of that. Whether or not I did my feet into it, again, that's just more of like a time commitment thing. But again, to hear that, hey, all their chapters are be available for free trial, that's awesome. That's really good to hear. Forza's looking good. They say it's gonna be the most powerful racing game ever. So I will say, even though Forza doesn't have the biggest crowd, I will say Forza consistently in terms of graphics does tend to be the game to really show Xbox's wings in terms of graphics. Like consistently with generational consoles, Forza is usually the one, surprisingly, of all games, at least an Xbox first party title, that tends to really showcase what the Xbox graphics are like. I still remember that one trailer. They're like, man, doesn't that real car look good? Boom, it's not a car on stage. It's in the game. It's graphics. And that got me. I will say that was years ago, but I will say that was still a memorable E3 moment for me where I was fooled thinking, man, I don't know what it was. Let's say Dodge Viper looked great. Nope. That was an in-game. Ran on engine, the Dodge Viper. So
because I remember they shot a lot of that environment and like 12K footage. Like I'm like, holy shit, mapped it in the game. So
Yeah, whether it's your game or not, Forza does always look consistently amazing. Forza Horizon 5, I feel like they're getting back into now. And I forget the order, but it was either before or after Elder Scrolls was hi-firush. They debuted the game. It felt like E3. We're like, oh, by the way, this game playable right now. Well, they said a few hours after the conference, but they're like, hey, you can play it today. And that for me, that brings back the old E3 feeling stuff. They even said it. They even said this is not a demo.
Good segue, goddamn.
Like not a demo, not a trial. They're like not a demo, not a trial. Boom, you can play it today. And then they ended with Redfall. And again, the Redfall was like just gameplay. Like show the enemy bosses, how the game works. Because I think it's to a point. I didn't know if it'd be like Left 4 Dead, where there's like miniature campaigns, like Heavy Rain and all the stuff. It kind of feels like, and Church, I don't know if you might know more of this. So it feels more kind of like an open world. At least it feels like it. The map, okay, because I wasn't sure about that at first. Well, now
that's what
now
I
feel
read
like,
anyway. I didn't get to watch the direct, but that's what
it's
I read.
more like open world mission base, where you kind of just playing through scenarios. I heard that like the co-op, it's like Arthur, you have to run the mission, then you come back to my world, and we got to run the mission again because it's not cross progress. We can play together, but we can't run the story at the same time, which is it's unfortunate, but like that's how they kind of run in the game. So, but no,
that's what I was wondering. I know that's the one I feel like hurdle we haven't perfectly jumped over consistently is how to handle story-based cooperative games, because different games do it differently. Borderlands was weird too, like especially one. Borderlands was notorious for that. Of like, oh, I gotta do this all over again. And then you just agreed, whatever, man. I'll just play your game. But then it became a thing of like, hey, you played without me. You're way farther than me. Now there's all these missions I didn't play, and I might have to play the 10 hours of my game to catch up to play those missions.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's kind of a disappointment, but it's not isolated to just Redfall. There's a ton of games like that. I'm looking forward to it. And then I'm just saying now, like, work pending. I would love to jump on that day one.
What do you guys think? Oh, sorry about that. Yes, release date May 2nd. On my fantasy card. Let's go.
I was running. I was gonna say I forgot if Drell picked it up or if Church picked it up. Because I remember that was like a game Church and I were, at least definitely Church was preaching for a long time.
Yeah.
How you feel about that? That's on Drell's team.
Slid by and took that sucker. I was gonna say, what do you guys think about because they released information about how Redfall, even if you're a single player, it's on. You have to be connected online. I know some people were grappling with that, but what do you guys think?
I mean, it's one of those things that I don't know if it's good or bad, but when the Xbox One was like announced and you have that constant online feature, it's the way games are now. Basically, you kind of need your internet, an ISP, and you kind of need your membership. Fortnite, Overwatch, all these, I guess, games of service. We're constantly online. I'm kind of curious why Redfall. So you need to be online constantly. Redfall.
Yeah.
So if you're not online, like what happens if I have no internet?
Like if the servers are down, you cannot play by yourself.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm on the fence about it only because for me, that's just synonymous with Game Pass. That's just me, because if your internet's down, you can't play Game Pass games. You can play gold games because gold games are yours. Games you bought are yours, but games you have downloaded only through Game Pass, and if your internet goes down, your Game Pass games may not work. So that's the reason for me. I'm on the fence about it. And like Church said, day one, like Drill and I, you and I were there. We were in the trenches with GameStop. And when people said, "Oh, Xbox is always online," that was a huge negative thing. People are like, "Oh, it's always online," blah blah blah. Yeah. Now it's become one of those things where it's just like it or not, it's here. Joel and I have been talking about like Aliens, Clone, and Marines was like that too. We're like, buy your single player games online, I guess. Yeah. But for me, again, my 2 cents is only because I've done a lot of Game Pass stuff lately. For me, Game Pass games just mean online, because unless you buy it, it's like, it's like Netflix. I mean, not the best case scenario, but it's like, if Netflix is down, you can't stream your movies unless you did the DVD rental.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's the folly of Game Pass, of this subscription service, is that you constantly need internet connection for it to work. I've been in this situation when I took my Xbox somewhere. I'm like, yo, boom, no internet, couldn't get it connected, so I couldn't play my Game Pass games, and that
Oh.
does suck, you know. And luckily for me, my life is like never without internet at this time. I don't know how that is. I feel like internet's so common, you know, maybe for everybody, or maybe it's not. So it sucks. I kind of want to know what game development decisions that Redfall is offline. Because Arcane definitely made a Deathloop, and you can play that offline too as well. You don't need that to be online. So I
Mm.
wonder what mechanics it causes to be online constantly. Um,
That's a good point, definitely, because it's funny. I remember when the original Xbox One released, a lot of the games that released that were available were games that you had to be online to play, or in general. And I remember a few customers like being upset about that, as far as like for some reason they didn't have online or whatever the case may be. And the games that were released the day of the console, you had to be online. You had to have internet connection. You know, so
yeah.
oh, fuck. That's
Drill,
crazy.
do you remember SimCity? You remember that?
SimCity.
That game got pulled because remember a lot of people were complaining about the servers because that was a game where it was a game where it was always online, which is
mm,
odd for a SimCity game. But
mm,
the problem was that game servers were trash. So no one was able to play the
mm.
game. So SimCity, whatever it was called, it was like SimCity 4, or or like the fan dub SimCity 2010, whatever we do.
Yeah.
I want to say it got pulled from stores. I don't know if I assume it at one point got back on, but to a point that's why to a point why City Skylines when that dropped did so well
Mm.
because that niche market had nowhere to go because SimCity was surprisingly an online always game
Mm.
and its servers were not working.
Yeah.
So that's I just remember one thing around the same time of the whole always online being a more buzzword,
Yeah.
and that being a case example of how not to do it was oddly enough SimCity. I remember I remember getting a few calls about that.
Yeah. It's funny because a lot of the things we're talking about are definitely themes in the show. So we're definitely going to be kind of leaning more into that. And then, as Arthur was mentioning, as far as one thing I want to mention, I'll mention two things. One thing for hi-firush, one of the things that's really cool is that they have this play anywhere feature where you can carry your save to play the game on Steam. You can carry it to play on your PC or your Steam Deck, and then you can play it on your Xbox or play it on the PC as well, which is pretty neat, that play anywhere feature. So me as a PC player, I appreciate that. I think that's pretty sweet. I thought that's a pretty neat thing. And then also when you're mentioning, hey, like it's cool that it was available right then and there after it being announced, like E3, old school E3 days. And speaking of E3, unfortunately, it seems like E3 is just now more so a season more than it is an actual event, because there are reports that dropped that said Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo will not be at E3 this year. Obviously, we know that they're going to have their own events, right? Nintendo will have their Direct, Sony will have their State of Play as they usually do, and Xbox will have the super mega crazy conference, but they're not at E3, which is kind of crazy.
So that's kind of interesting, right? So I know PlayStation hasn't been at E3 or had a stage at E3 to be more precise.
Correct.
So E3 initially, right, is more than just a stage and presentation for all fans, right? It's
Yeah.
a business conference, right?
Yeah.
So when they say they're not being at E3, it's the business networking not happening between Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, and all third-party studios. Like that's the main purpose of it. It was right. So
Yeah.
are they just saying they're not going to have a stage? Like, are they still participating in the conference? And I find that more curious because, then, like, what does that say to the industry? Well, like, there's not like a set place for them to communicate. I guess you could go to PAX, as
Yeah.
well. You can do that as well. But it sucks that like E3 is just one, the industry networking part of it is just gone, I guess so at this point.
Yeah.
And we don't get any, I guess we do get our presentations. It just takes place on the internet, so I'm fine with that. But it's just Jeff Keighley season. That's it, man. He's gonna have December and June. that's all we're gonna do, man.
The Summer Games
Jeff is
Fest.
so happy right now.
We need another Summer Games Fest. No, you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. I'm glad you mentioned
yeah,
his name, definitely, because yeah, I feel like he's kind of bringing that E3 sense back, and like you said, you're absolutely right. It is a business conference because I've been to E3 two times. I've been there two times, and a lot of the times for the games that you really really want to see. A lot of them you have to have media badges, and then usually there were games on the floor. There were like people in like people in different costumes. One person was like a dinosaur from those that technology dinosaur, robot dinosaur from Horizon.
Horizon.
You know what I mean? It was kind of cool. But yeah, the last E3 was that I was at was really sad because it was like nobody was on the floor, like barely. There was some games on the floor. One of the coolest things with E3 is that like you have these games that aren't out and there's stations for them and you can play them ahead of time. Like that was always a super fun thing. But there are stations that I'm like, yo, this came out like 2 months ago. Like, why is this even here? You know what I mean? So it's just like what is happening? And I know in general, E3 when it comes to having your presentation or whatever there and that stuff, like it's very expensive. So I thought that was one of the reasons why Xbox and Sony were like, yo, like we're not even gonna do that. Like that's kind of ridiculous. You know what I mean? So it just made more sense to do online. And to me, that's what those are the bright moments during the quarantine days. We're like, oh, thank God they're doing their they're doing their conference. You know what I mean? Like that virtual, like that just that definitely gave me some oxygen, being underwater during that time. But yeah, man, it's interesting now that it's just a season, a feeling. You know what I mean? And that's just because this threw me for a loop because this was going to be the first E3 in a long time where people can actually pay general admission to go. A lot of the times you have to be in the industry. This is going to be one of the first times where people can pay general admission to go. And then I was thinking, like, man, having like everybody there at E3, like, and then people going, like, giving that feeling of like, yes, like games, like, and then obviously like all these games on television and stuff. So it's just, I thought it'd be such a great opportunity for everybody. And nope, fuck E3. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of sad. But what were your thoughts, Arthur?
One thing I was gonna say, church me to it, is like, help us, Obi-Wan Keeley. You're your only hope.
Yep.
Like, if I was like upside downside, if I was Jeff Keighley right now, like to a point, this is like in terms of supply and demand. Think of like how many like industry gathering events are happening, dude. Like I would make like the stage and the overall grandstand and the showmanship of the video game awards amp it up.
Yeah,
I know it's already pretty up there, but like I don't know why. That was just one thing I like I said with church. It just made me thought of like, what's Jeff gonna do? Like, like when the world, it's like, please don't be like the Avatar. When the world needs you most, don't vanish. Stay here. Jeff, I'm sorry I made fun of your Sora clown shoes 2 years ago.
I know. I'm sorry too, Jeff. I was just, it's just the industry, baby. It's just the industry. I was just fucking around.
Gamers are good roasters, and you had Sora vibes. Okay, I'm just saying. Those shoes gave off pretty good Sora vibes. But I mean, it's it's like, dude, it's official. Like COVID killed E3. I mean, it's like, but there are a lot of moving parts. Like, 'cause I've never been to E3, so Sergel's just bragging in my face. So, but there are a lot of moving parts. Like I forget who it was, Drell, but I think one company, like one smaller company, just straight up said, "Hey guys, we can't go to E3 this year. It's too expensive."
Yeah.
And that brought up a lot of costs of like capital, like capital cost. Just like how much investment it costs to have a table, to have a booth, to have employees, to have all this stuff, to have merchandise, all this stuff over there to get the rights. And it's it sucks. It's like, oh man, I have one less reason to come back to LA. Like, come on. But it's, again, I'm on the fence. It's like I want to say it's like not COVID again. To say COVID killed E3, there's a lot of moving parts. It felt like towards the tail end of it, it was less towards the general media, the general public, and more towards like influencers, media badge holders. It's like, what does that mean? Like, oh, I do a TikTok. Here's the media badge. Well, cool. I want to go to E3 before I die. Well, too bad you don't have a TikTok. Get out. So, and I still remember like the whole media influencer thing real quick. That only came up because during the thing that was Fallout 76, remember all those like collector editions? Like, sorry, we don't have your backpack. Oops, that we give away to all the media influencers at the E3 prior. So, but it does suck that E3 isn't going to be in person. There's one less thing to like a stage, a feeling, as the kids would say, a vibe to look forward to. It's becoming less like, Merry Christmas, Happy E3, Happy Game Season, Happy Showcase Season.
Right.
The that's what I'm saying I'm mixed because I know for the smaller, like those smaller studios, you mean I love indie, and so again, when now smaller companies say, "Hey, look, guys, they apologize. We're like, we're sorry, but we just can't."
Yeah.
And so to that side of it, as much as like I love indie, it'd be wrong for me to be like, I love your games, pay money to have a cardboard cut out of your character. Come on. But so I'm on the fence, but the only thing I hope for is now that's all digital and there's no like money invested to a point into like a physical stage and a time slot. Can we just please make this a weekend thing? Like, can we stop doing these Wednesday at 2 p.m.
Oh
conferences?
yeah,
Like, what are you
Tuesday
doing?
through Thursday or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
yeah. It's like to a point how we forgot about like how to a point, Joel and I, how we forgot about developer direct. It's like streaming live the 25th, 2 p.m. Like, I'm
Monday.
working,
It's
dude.
like what?
I'm working. Like, what do you?
I gotta pull a report right now. I can't do it.
So,
I can't do that.
so I'm on. It sucks. I'm just hoping to now on the rubber band of it. There's even more of a challenge to a point. Kind of. I'm not saying blow us out of water, but like make up for it because we were hoping for like yes, E3's back. E3's back. It's gone. So that's what I'm saying. There's more of it. I think there might be more of a challenge this year, especially if the whole Xbox purchase goes through. It's like cool. I want to see what $69.8 billion gets you on an E3 conference.
Game Pass slide, bro, of all the games. That's what's going to get you.
I should just change it to like the like Sony. Sorry, because Sony, the Switch, and the Game Pass showcase.
Right. I mean, I think Jeff is kind of cool because he's going to be the pot for all these small time studios, to get all these indies on his platform. I mean, I guess Sony's going to pick up the major third party studios, but for like indies and stuff, I think Jeff is going to have more of a foothold doing that. And there's always kind of fundy. They do like an indie showcase every year.
Yeah.
Or maybe they didn't do it last year. They do a pretty good job of doing that too as well. But I'm worried because I know Jeff is going to do something, but Sony didn't do anything until like what, September? Yeah. I think this last year, they didn't do anything last year, right?
I don't think they did it.
They had
besides state of plays for certain games. I don't think they did anything
else. But
like
in like September, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then even back in 2021, they did September again. So I don't expect to hear from Sony. I take that back. I think Sony needs to do something soon. We don't know what the 2023 docket is at this point at all, to be honest with you. I mean, that's a different topic, but maybe they will show up this year. But it leaves room that it's just Jeff doing something. Is Xbox going to do something in June? Like, is that a guarantee? Is Nintendo guaranteed to do it in June? Like, I don't know. So like, I hope it happens all around the same time. Because I love that. I love that week, man. I know it's not just we can't go visit E3 anymore, but I do love like the second week of June. Like we just get this flood of like video game news coming in, and I don't care what you say, Arthur. Thursday through Monday, just more days, the better. That's how I feel about it. So
I can't watch them live.
Yes, indeed.
I'm on that 9 to 5 grind.
Man, it's okay, man. Just like put it in your ears, bro. Just put up your phone.
That's I remember doing that during GameStop days. Definitely when that terrible E3 where Xbox was like, we're gonna have you're gonna be able to watch TV or stream, via
Xbox
the game.
TV.
Yeah, to add my phone. I'm like, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh, customer, hi.
Yeah. I somewhere that joke of a
and they were not wrong. That's basically what it became.
It was just how they did it, and and everything else. Thank God for Phil Spencer.
I was gonna say, don't you think it's funny how we're joking how we joke about Xbox TV and Sony still announcing they have a streaming service coming up?
Yeah, they need to put that dead. That needs to be dead. That needs to be dead in the water because all their shit is on every other fucking platform and streaming app service. Like, what are they gonna have on there?
Spider-Man? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like what the hell? But...
Sony's gonna have an exclusive streaming service. Last of Us on HBO this Sunday.
So I know we talked about indie, how much we love indie, and some of the detriments that can happen as far as just like you said, Arthur, not going to E3 because it's we don't have the funds, like we can't do it, and unfortunately another detriment to indie. is games as a service can be affected as well, and it's definitely happened for Knockout City. Unfortunately, their online services will be closed later this year. They discussed possibly via Kotaku saying that there's going to be potentially a like private server edition that they want to try to release later in the year, but unfortunately, I know Crossfire X is another game, different company, different developer, obviously, but they're going to be shutting down their doors. So let me read this here a little bit. So this is from IGN. It says here in quote, free-to-play team-based dodgeball game Knockout City is about to be, well, knocked out. According to an official post today, it's shutting down in June. They say here via the tweet, we have an important announcement about the future Knockout City. Season 9 will be our final season. All servers will be shut down in June. We have more in store. So stay tuned. But definitely, end quote, but definitely kind of a sad thing. I actually really enjoyed Knockout City. That was definitely one of the things that I played a decent amount during I was like probably the back end of the quarantine days, but just playing the game in general, I had a really fun time with it, that dodgeball. But Arthur, give me your thoughts, because I know we were running down on that one.
I'm on the fence because that surprisingly was a fun game. As much as I openly bash on EA, and again I say I'm not the biggest PvP game online kind of guy. I'm more of a Skyrim versus Call of Duty kind of guy. But that was a surprisingly fun game. My only, again, we mentioned before, but real quick, I wish there was more, 4-player teams versus 3. I still think that trend needs to die and die fast.
The 3-player thing, yeah, I agree.
You need to die fast.
It's
like
weird.
don't
weird.
limit fun. That's my thing. Just don't limit fun. But that's the thing why I get nervous to a point getting invested in a PvP only type of game is because in the back of my head, I know as much as like my heart might like it, this game will only survive as long as it's popular. And trends come and go. A lot of games survive them, a lot of games don't. And so just to a point, I still remember Brink. I was still one of the guys that liked Brink.
Oh,
and
man.
I thought Brink was as a campaign, as a game looked fun. And they're like, oh, it's server based, and since no one's playing, the game's dead. I'm like, yeah.
Well, remember that game died because of the Sony hack that happened.
Oh,
they should have sued Sony. I don't know why they didn't, but that game was supposed to come out. That and Mortal Kombat, they came out around the same day, and the multiplayer was, it was no go on PlayStation because Sony got hacked, and there was that whole thing. It was almost like a couple months. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, was that when we almost went to war with North Korea because James Franco?
Yeah. and your boy and your boy who's playing his voice in Donkey Kong.
But I like it's because this is unfortunate because it just sucks that like Squadrons. I feel like this is just another EA game that kind of just the dust is settling and it's literally being put to bed. I forget the actual studio that developed it. They made a fun game. If you're telling me, hey, there's gonna be a dodgeball game coming out, that's a tough sell, but they did it. It was a fun game, and I enjoyed it. I would say I'm gonna miss it. I didn't play too much, but hey, that studio should be proud. I made a fun dodgeball based game.
VLAN. That's the devs there. What are your thoughts, Church?
Well, if I get into my thoughts, like when you said they're gonna have like a complete edition, like a private server, are you being able to pay for a private server, or are they selling you the game where it's like, what do you mean by that?
It's a good question. They didn't give too many details on it. I'm hoping they're going to do that soon. For what that means, it probably means something to do with buying a server. That would be my thoughts, because a lot of people, they've already downloaded Knockout City, so I think it's literally probably just like server access, private server access. That would be my thoughts, but not sure.
Right, that's crazy. I like Knockout City. I remember when it was like announced, play the game with some friends, and it was fun, and I was on it for a while. Not too heavy, but it was a fun game.
Yeah.
It sucks because it's good games are somehow getting caught up with game mechanics behind like money grabbing schemes, right? It's with EA, it's going to release it as a battle pass, and it's as soon as it's not making enough money, let's pull the plug. From a business standpoint, that sounds cool, but there's a lot of games that that's what you're supposed to do. It's like, I'm making not money on this anymore. Let's do something else. But as gamers, like it hinders archiving gaming abilities. Like nobody can experience this game again, right? Once the service is gone, we can't go back and play it. So that sucks. It
Right.
sucks for the people that love the game, that paid hundreds of hours into it. They just can't continue playing with their friends. And I know servers in general, even if it wasn't like a free to play game, the servers have to be up and running. Everything gets shut down eventually for online multiplayer.
Right.
Um, so it just sucks that EA is just going to keep doing this over and over again, and the game is going to be lost. And I don't know how to change it. Like I don't really have any idea. Like paying for private servers, like that's kind of I don't like that. I think that's kind of shady. We're shutting down this game, but like let's try to milk some more money from the hardcore fan base real quick, and just buy some servers. That's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah.
A little bit. And it sucks that you have to do that to play a game that you love.
Right. Right.
So
another factor too, in this particular situation is that the land studios, they separated from EA to do their own thing, and then unfortunately now their servers are shutting down. So part of me is wondering, do we think that the servers would be up if they stuck with EA?
Oh, I didn't know they got separated, so they just can't afford the servers.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Probably a little. It'd be up for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
If they're like, I'm assuming they'll have to shut it down because they have like another project and like they want to funnel money over there. I mean, this is all speculation, but I think it could be up for a little bit longer. But I think the fate would be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, it's like you break up, you leave your dog with your girlfriend, you check back on her, it's like, oh, I put up for adoption. It's in a shelter.
Right.
That's how I felt to me. Like you guys were talking about whether Eli, I'm like, dude, that just feels like a bad breakup.
Real bad breakup, dude.
Like, oh, you're leaving us? Okay, you expect us to? Oh, you're leaving us? You expect us to keep your game alive?
Right.
Killing it. Dude, you're talking about game preservation. It made me think of how I was gonna tell Drell. I almost messaged you. Hey Drell, Splinter Cell Xbox original games are on sale for like $5. You can buy both Splinter Cell Xbox original games for $10 right now.
Cool.
So again, another reason why I do like kind of like PV versus the whole server thing. I know that kind of contradicts our earlier discussion with Redfall, but it's like this is the downside. It's like if the server dies, it's like more like it's not just the game in terms of meta or the games of popularity. No, like the game dies.
Yeah.
So when it comes to this, it just again kind of connecting it back to Redfall. I don't know. Makes me forget like, oh yeah, that does happen more often than you think. One thing I will say real quick, dial it back, way back to Church. We're talking about Redfall on the map. Of why. So this made me think why Redfall is always online. It reminds me of the Division, because there's always, if there's in-game events or things like that, or events of the day, like here's a hotspot, if they do stuff like that. Because for me, again, sort of apples to apples, more apples to oranges. When it comes to like multiplayer, cooperative, open world, mission-based games, that just screams Ubisoft. Ubisoft is known for open world, online, cooperative, mission-based games, Wildland, Divisions, Far Cry, all this stuff. So that make me think why Redfall might be always online, whereas Arcane is definitely not for being always online. That kind of gives me Ubisoft style vibes of like there's an event or there's a thing, like things that can just update on the fly of that. So kind of loosely taking this server connection back to Redfall, and that makes me think why Redfall might be always online. They might be having it kind of a Ubisoft style map online service.
Yeah, I mean, but like it's unless I keep adding new events into the game, I don't see why would they couldn't program just events to happen at these rates,
like,
so to speak.
Like a daily, like yeah, I could just say not like a daily, but yeah, like oh here like a hotspot popped up, because offline games do have that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, but I mean, it does bring concern if I have to look into it. But if Redfall is constantly online, like yeah, that game is. It sucks. Like when
they're just spying on everybody, they're getting all the data they can.
Everybody's data mining at this point, trying to get everything to sell to advertisers with you. That's how the game goes now, and so it's messy.
Yeah.
Dude, it all comes back full circle, man. Your Xbox is always on. It's always online. Your Connect's always listening to you. You remember that?
My phone's always listening.
Your phone's listening to you too.
Yeah. But I definitely remember. I remember that day one where I found out like your Connect's always on. Your Connect's always listening to you. I just remember that was a big deal. Now we're like, hey, I was just talking about traveling. Why am I getting Delta ads?
Right.
Yeah. What?
It'd be scary about that, right? We having a conversation, you mention something, you're gonna add on your phone the next time you say it. It's
It's
just
crazy.
it's creepy. But going back to topic, it just yeah, sucks for knockout, man. I wish the community has a lot of fun, and man, it just makes me think about the game industry as a whole, like in terms
Yeah.
of like if it's gonna crash, and that's because the business model behind knockout, right, is that fucking battle pass, get as much money as possible, and companies make projections on earnings, and as soon as it's going to be a point, because the industry is growing because of the earnings is so much, it's based on whether or not people are buying stuff and spending real more money as opposed to just sales of a game. As soon as a few projects don't hit, man, because of these like quote unquote projected sales, it's gonna crash a little bit. It's gonna be a little bit of a bubble puss
Yeah.
popping, so to speak. It's
Yeah.
bad, and it's just bad for gaming because you can't play anything, man.
Yeah.
Look at Nintendo; their archiving history is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
preservation, though.
The interesting thing too, I was thinking about is just because how the industry has changed. When it comes to games as a service, I'm from the days where Team Fortress and fucking Counter Strike, those servers are always up. You know what I mean? Or even just like
Yeah,
the Halo 2, 3. Like I remember they recently just shut down the Xbox 360 server for like Halo 3 or whatever it was because people were
yeah.
still on it. You know what I mean? But now there's such this hardcore profit agenda with these seasons, these battle passes, all this stuff. Like they want to really push this generating income and whatnot, where it just puts a lot of these projects at a standstill. Continuing on the list here, which I'm sure none of us are really upset about. But
Oh yeah.
Battlefield Mobile, it just came out like I think like 3 months ago or whatever it is. They're going to be shutting down their servers May 1st.
Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Apex Mobile, that one's going down too. Unfortunately, Crossfire X, that one sucks because it's a
Dang.
dev studio
Oh,
going
Apex
down.
is going down too.
Apex Mobile,
Mobile.
Yeah, that's crazy because I heard like the fandom were not happy with like Apex Mobile. They
yeah.
they had like certain characters only for mobile or something like that.
Oh my
And the
god,
fandom was not happy about it. So
Dude, EA is just taking all the L's.
yeah, man.
now
Knockout, Battlefield, Apex. Bye.
Now there's
Right.
there's one thing that I forgot to mention to y'all that I didn't put into the chat, but it is still relevant,
Oh.
especially with Arthur. You were talking about how, hey, it's great that at least when you can buy games from like the Xbox store, like you have them, whatnot. But what about when those companies decide to take them down, like Netflix? How you have a bunch of shows you can watch, but they're going to take them down before the end of the month. So that is actually happening with PlayStation, and it's actually happening with Xbox. But there is an interesting contrast on how those companies do it. So this recently happened earlier this week, 2 days ago, if I may add, from today, obviously. But it says here, PlayStation Plus collection can't be claimed after May 9th. So continuing, this is from Video Games for News. Shout out to them. It says here in quote, Sony has confirmed that the PlayStation Plus collection will be discontinued in May, bringing an end to a free library of games that were offered as an extra to PlayStation Plus subscribers on PS5. The PS Plus collection included a number of Sony's big first-party games and a few third-party extras that could be redeemed and added to your library, but it'll be taken offline on May 9th. It says here in quote, we also wanted to provide an update on the PlayStation Plus collection that has been offered as a benefit to PlayStation Plus members since PS5, on PS5 since 2020. Sony explained it in a post. It said on May 9th, the PlayStation Plus collection will no longer be offered. If you haven't redeemed the titles in this collection yet, you can still do so until May 9th, which will enable you to access those titles even after this date, as long as you remain a PlayStation Plus member.
So, okay, well, I'm gonna get into this. I'm gonna get into this. This is PlayStation has been making a lot of bad moves. I think this is a bad move, just right off rip. And they've been doing a lot for this new generation. It's almost like PS3 era. They feel themselves. The PS2 did well, and now we could do anything. And so your selling point for getting the PS5 was the PlayStation collection, but you didn't have enough PS5s in the wild, right? So now that you finally got them available to people, let's take that incentive away, for people to experience it. So it's almost like a bait and switch, and I think that's scummy. It's like, wow, I I got it because this seems really cool, even though it's a small little library, a lot of great games. But now I'm gonna take it away from you. It's just it's bad practice, man. And they
Yeah.
just and I think it's bad move after move. And I'm not trying like even the PSVR 2, right? Real quick, they don't even have backwards compatible for PSVR games, right? Right. So
I
it's
don't think
it's
so.
just like bad decision after bad decision. And
Yeah.
I just I don't know, man. I hate it. That's terrible, bro.
It's crazy.
Like you should add to that collection.
Right.
You know, and now you're gonna start taking things away.
Give people more, exactly,
Bro,
because it's one of those things that I was talking to Arthur before, as far as like there are so many people that are looking for PlayStation 5, and then like you go on like social media, you're seeing all of these celebrities. Everyone has PS5. It's like, I got 3 in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, and now that it is all available, there's more PS5s available. That, like you said, they're taking incentives away. It's crazy. Like, I feel like old PlayStation would give you something, or it's like, hey, I know you've been wanting this console for so long. Here's a this. Here's this game. Here's this you can download. You know, and to make it where you have to be a PlayStation Plus member is kind of crazy. Just to read off a little bit of the list of the games, you got Batman: Arkham Knight, Battlefield 1, Bloodborne, Call of Duty, Black Ops 3, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human. Like, these are heavy games,
bro,
that are
right.
gonna be gone if you're not a fucking PlayStation Plus member. What are your
Right.
thoughts, Arthur?
And just
Go on, church.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. Go ahead.
It's just because like it's so interesting, right? Because the entire lineup, right? Xbox has a bunch of new studios, and we're waiting for the new games. When in 2021, when PlayStation did their announcement, right? Or maybe it was 2020, the lineup of games for the next gen are sequels.
Yeah.
Right? It's all the games in the collection. They're releasing sequels. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you want your people to catch up to the content, you know, because they do first party. So why would you? It's weird that though your sequels is your lineup for games coming out, like Spider-Man 2 and all that, and you want to take that away.
Right.
That's strange. And it just makes me think that that article that we heard maybe 6-8 months ago to a year was just like, hey, we're focusing on live service games now. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, so there's a big shift. It's
crazy, right? No, you make that's an amazing point you made, because one of the games on here, guess what it is?
What?
The Last of Us Remastered.
Oh no. No, you know what I'm saying?
Like that game, that the during this HBO season, The Last of Us sales remastered has skyrocketed. So remember, Arthur, when I was saying before,
Yeah.
I said, I know why they're doing this shit. I know why they're remastering this fucking game. I know we have we have 7 copies of it, because people want Joel back, and you got the game, and people want Joel. Like it was premeditated, bro. But now, like, you have this. Like, this is fucked up. You know.
And it's like it's no, I don't know the word. It's like there's no reward for brand loyalty. It seems like when it comes to PlayStation. And that's just maybe because I came over to Xbox's generation. I'm like, I feel like, and maybe I'm on like we're finally getting something coming from Xbox. Like, even though Microsoft Rewards is pretty nice with the points, I redeem that shit for like $5 from Taco Bell ever so often or whatever.
Nice.
Games give me a chalupa.
Yeah, bro, you know, pay for my girl Starbucks, man. My games paid for Starbucks. Let's go.
There you go.
Me playing. And
hey, shout out, Valentine's Day is coming up.
I took care of that yesterday, player. Yeah, I got a little boom.
Boom. There you go.
I was just saying a shout out. Hey, if you don't know what to get for your girl, hey, get Starbucks gift cards. How do you get Starbucks gift card? Play Game Pass games.
It just, yeah, man. It's just like it's scummy. I mean, I have a PS5. I don't play it, but it's like, yo, man. If I don't know, I don't feel like why am I here? You know, I don't feel the love. I'm not saying they're giving us bad products, like in terms of games or software. So it's just like, yo, that's all it is, basically.
Yeah.
You know.
Facts.
So
yeah. Facts. What are your thoughts, Arthur?
Oh, I just been enjoying this because you two Sony. You guys are both Sony guys. So I'm just been enjoying watching this. I was like, I immediately got to see what Church has to say, because he's like. Because to a point, sometimes I'll, bag on Sony, and Church will come up to defend him. He's like, so when Church goes, what are they doing?
You're like, this is a great moment in time in history for Gamers for Life.
I know, because it's like you said, it's like a bait and switch. We're gonna focus more on this. Okay, so about what I said, we're not.
Speaking of that, yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man, because it's like, again, what's their focus? It's like, what's their goal? Who's their target? What are they doing? What are they doing? It's like, it's not indie. It's maybe blockbuster games, but then, in terms of the subscription, first of all, it took them forever to finally merge all that. You remember those dark days? You remember
Yeah,
that? When
yeah.
it was like, hey, you
PS
want to be
Now,
a,
PlayStation
a Sony,
Plus.
you want to have a, you want to own a PlayStation and have subscription. Well, guess what? You're gonna get a lot of emails about when this bill was due, when you got blah 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 blah. Versus Xbox something that quick. We're like, okay, we have Xbox Gold, we have Xbox Game Pass. Two is too much. Get on it.
Right.
Game Pass Ultimate. Um, and so one, not only did they take it forever to merge it, so they're already kind of behind the eight ball there, but now they retract on the value of it because again they were behind the eight ball. They were behind the eight ball a lot in this because the value of their competitor was already high up there. Even the Switch got involved in that. Remember, even the Switch did their, I forget what they call it, like Church. Remember the name of the subscription where they have like Sega and 64 games now? What's their subscription called? Place Nintendo Plus or something?
Oh yeah, yeah, they do. They just like if you part of the online service, they have like Nintendo Online. You get like the emulation. It would be a Super Nintendo, SNES, NES, and if you get like the premium subscription service, you get like
Yeah, that
N64 and Sega games. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, I remember that got announced that one Nintendo State of it got announced that the Nintendo State of Play that had no business going that hard.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right. We're like,
But
holy
that was
shit. Yeah.
yeah, we
yeah.
are like, oh, let's just catch this. Like, oh. So again, mine was just more of watching, because you guys are investing in this a little bit more than me, a little more dog in the fight. And again, it makes me think, more of like, Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan really needs to be the kind of face of this company. So it's like, what is he doing? Again, like, what's his focus on? What, like Church was saying, it's like, okay, okay, you can't get PS5. So the handful of people that did get PS5s, what's the benefit of getting PS5? And something that Joel's unfortunately been talking about for a while. Church just said right now, there's almost no brand loyalty. There's no
Yeah.
like loyalty to being a Sony customer. Like Joel's been,
That's why I don't
Joel's
have the
talking about a lot.
that's why I don't have the console.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like, dude, I want to bet money. The second Church said this, he's like, this is why I play Final Fantasy 14.
Yep, yep.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only reason.
It's crazy, right, guys? Because I remember originally, Arthur. I remember when we first we didn't know what Sony was doing. Now we do know what Sony's doing. Now it's just nasty, right? It's
Yeah.
just first we didn't understand how they were gonna, like, what they were pushing towards, what was their plan, and it seems like their plan is very clear. It's just, and brand loyalty is not one of them, which is really insane. You know what I mean? Like, and it sucks because on paper they're doing fine. They're still like they their consoles are selling extremely well. I want to say they're one of the best selling consoles this year already. Or no, at the end of the last quarter, they were the
Mhm.
best selling console. So like on paper they're doing fine, but when it comes to just like making sure, like, providing content that fans want, and especially like early adopters and things like that, like, that is all, like, no one gives a fuck about that, which is crazy. And then there was a report that said, it said like 30% of players, they didn't own a PS4 or 3 or something like that. Um, so I'm like, that's cool, but like 70% of your customers are those folks that have went from console to console, and it seems like you really don't care about them. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
kind of insane to
Do
me.
you remember? This just reminds me. Remember when they tried to close the PlayStation 3 store?
Oh, people were riled up, bro.
Yeah.
People were riled up. They're trying. Yeah. Yeah.
The,
That was ridiculous.
here, not I mean like, look, people say it would be copying, but hey, if the system works, don't fix it. You know, just on a constructive thing, do to add value to the service rather than devaluing it. Do what Xbox does, because remember, because not Game Pass, because Game Pass, if you're say, oh, games leave Game Pass, yeah, they do. I'm not talking about Game Pass. I'm talking about Gold. So early on, for me, that was one of the biggest differences with Xbox Gold and that PlayStation Plus thing, was you can only play these games as long as you're paying the service. But with Xbox Gold, once you downloaded the game, that was your game. It was equivalent of you buying that game. You can, like, let's say the game you've always wanted to get just by chance. I know people say their library is not the best selection of games, but you remember there's Game Pass and there's Gold, and Gold is just free. Gold is yours. So again, so to a point, their library is not there. There are some hits that come through, but again, if by chance you're to like finally get the game you want, poof, your internet goes down. To a point, poof, your internet goes down, or you're not paying for the subscription on like PlayStation Plus with the Gold games. Those are still your games. In fact, right now, I want to start playing For the King because it's a turn-based RPG roguelike cooperative game. And I'm like, that hits all my boxes. I own the game now.
I actually did not know that with Gold. I thought it was like PlayStation Plus. Like, as long as I have a subscription service, it's like, I can play the game. I didn't know that Gold was actually my game.
That's your game as long as you download, because if you go to download it, it doesn't say download, it says get, like it's free. Yeah. Even the 360, and I'll talk about game preservation, a lot of 360 games come up there. We get 5 free games a month. 4 are Xbox One games, and then there's always one game that's a 360 game. Those are your games as long as you could download. Now, so the window is the 1st to the 15th and the 16th through the end. So if but here that's a downside. If you miss it, you miss it. So if there's this game you wanted that's there on the 15th, you turn your Xbox on the 16th of the month, you missed out on those games. So that's the drawback. Go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right, Arthur. You're absolutely right. And I'm actually going to take this. I'm going to take your example and this opportunity to go to the other side of the fence to discuss the Xbox situation. Yeah. And then we can contrast, compare and contrast here. So it says here, this was, let's see, this is a Gamatsu 2 days ago. It says 46 games to be delisted from the Xbox 360 marketplace on February 7th. So it says Microsoft will delist a number of game titles and associated add-ons from the Xbox 360 marketplace February 7th, including Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey, Jet Set Radio, and more, the company announced. This delisting will not affect the ability to purchase the titles that are available on Xbox One or Xbox Series consoles. They say, quote, beginning on February 7th, the limited set of games, add-ons, and in-game content will no longer be purchasable in select markets via the Xbox 360 store, end quote, Microsoft spokesman told Gematsu. These games will no longer be purchasable on the 360 store only, and the titles that will be available purchased on the Xbox One, Series XS stores will remain purchasable. You will still be able to play discs or previously downloaded games on your Xbox 360 and modern consoles if they are backwards compatible titles. For more information, the games will be impacted on your region listed here. And then it shows, and here, the last thing in quote, or not in quote, but just on the article, it says, it should be noted that once purchased, you can always re-download these games from your Xbox 360 download history. And that is brand loyalty. You know what I mean? That is brand loyalty. They don't have to do any of this shit. You know what I mean? They can just say, fuck you, we're taking this down. And there's a long list of games here that these 46 games that they're taking down. But again, you can re-download them if you did it so already. So it's like, that is how you do it, Sony. It's like, God damn it, you know.
I like the times when like Joel, you and I are like right or like predict the future. It's like, so here's what Xbox does. Like, Arthur, here's the thing. You're right.
Yeah, it's wild, bro. And I mean, definitely you're gonna be a part of that. Actually, you already have predicted some stuff, Church. You're already a part of the three wise men, bro. Yeah, man. Yeah. You're like, I'm pretty sure Overwatch 2 is gonna come out this year. Boom, but Overwatch 2 announced. You know.
Is Church bringing myrrh? Nah, he's bringing facts. Fun fact. I own Blue Dragon because that was a gold game a while back. So
yeah, good stuff.
The other thing too, also, I will say these are games off the marketplace, not like the gold thing. So that's one thing I'll say, because the games coming, so sort of apples to apples in this sale, kind of play advocate, is these are games just being removed from the Xbox. Sounds like, if I heard it correctly, these are games being removed from the general Xbox marketplace versus other games being removed from the PlayStation Plus catalog. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like one's like a just general store thing, and then but they said if you have it, it's still there. Versus like devaluing a service that they were supposedly going to hype up and invest more into.
Yeah, it's crazy, bro. And because it just shows like, it just shows the whole thing as far as it's like, oh well, if you're still a member, it's like wait, what? For PlayStation, so it's wild.
Yeah, I think this is a bad move for PlayStation, completely unnecessary. It's gross, bro.
Yeah,
This is gross.
I agree.
For audio listeners, shocker, Church does not look happy.
Nah, I
um,
don't. It just sucks, bro. It's terrible.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, to put a smile on our faces before the end of the show here, last topic. Coalition is who, as we know, working on the next Gears of War, and according to Video Games Chronicle, says here in quote, Gears 6 is reportedly Coalition's next game after 2 other titles were canceled. It's claimed that the Canadian studio was recently affected by layoffs at Microsoft. Continuing on this article here, it says the Coalition has reportedly shifted its full attention to the next entry in the Gears of War series after 2 other games in the development studio were canceled during the Game Mess morning show. On Thursday, Giant Bomb reporter Jeff Grubb claimed that the Canadian studio is now full steam ahead on Gears of War 6. The Coalition said in May 2021 that it was preparing to transition to next-gen development using Unreal Engine 5. And shortly after, the LinkedIn profile of one of the studio's level designers claimed that they've been working on a, in quote, new IP. Grubb claimed that the Coalition was at one point working on 2 now canceled projects in addition to carrying out support on the Halo Infinite and working with Epic on the Matrix Awakens Unreal 5 tech demo. They've canceled that smaller project as well as another, so there have been 2 games canceled there, he said. It also says here, this was all reflected in layoffs that happened at Microsoft, which did hit the Coalition a little bit. So the studio is now going to move full in Gears of War 6. I say now, it is likely moved on to Gears 6 in full over the course of the last year, but definitely will be their next game, end quote.
This is not happy news, bro.
They're working on Gears of War 6. Because I didn't know what Gears of War 6 was.
No, go ahead.
Well, give me your thoughts. Because to
I'll
me,
say real quick, Drill, I'll jump with you. Let's go.
What are your thoughts, Church?
I played Gears 5 and I enjoyed it. It was really good. And I'm excited for Gears 6. I even like the Gears 5 DLCs too. I was just more excited to see Coalition do something else. So this news with like the layoffs, it seems like, if I heard you correctly, is like canceling 2 of the IPs or like the passion project they were working on, and now it's just Gears 6. I'm like, dang, that sucks. I wanted to see Coalition do a different type of game. Not because of talent, it's just that in my belief, contrary to what Arthur believes in Forza, I think Gears always showcase what Microsoft's system can do. I think Gears 5 with the 120 hertz online multiplayer they had, I think they have a solid team, and I think they could have made a different game of that quality to really show graphics well. I'm sure 6 would be just the same. I just, it's another Gears game, which I love. All right. But I just wanted to see something different.
Yeah. That's a fair point. That's
me, man.
Yeah, that's a fair.
I want it all. That's all.
Nothing wrong with wanting Gears and a new IP.
Yeah, that's all.
Arthur, lay it on me, man. What are your thoughts?
Dude, I'm happy. Like, I will say again, I was like half dancing until Draw got to the point. So related to the layoffs. Ooh, okay.
The layoffs obviously not a good thing. Our hearts are out to all those. Hopefully, you guys can get back on your feet.
Dude, Joe and I were talking for like the longest time. We're like, Epic, can you we get it. We get it. People like doing the gritty as Goku, but can you just start putting focus on Gears, please? So it is unfortunate the context of why they're putting all their focus now on Gears is because all their eggs are in one basket due to the layoffs now. So it's like upside downside for me. But again, to hear that they are putting focus on Gears, which for me was like to a point like in the dark, where just like John, you were talking about articles, we're like, there's not moves, like it's going to exist when. We'll get back to you on that. And the thing is, for me, I thought about this too, because you said Unreal Engine 5, and to a point, Church, like you said, Gears does always, again, it does push the Xbox to its thing. I kind of forgot just because it's been a while since, again, I feel like Gears 5's been out there for a while. But like, talk about Unreal 5, dude, it's almost to a point like Unreal's coming home to Gears, man. Unreal and Gears is back. Forspoken, nah, garbage. It's all about Gears now in Unreal 5. Like, you want to, like, and now they did say they're canceling the Matrix thing. I didn't see too much on it. I remember when I say like, oh, that looked good. but to a point that was like on the tail skirts of the movie where I'm like,
Right.
that wasn't that good. So I wasn't in the
Exactly.
mood. I wasn't in the mood for more Matrix just because the the taste in the mouth the movie left me.
Yeah.
But again, to Church's point with graphics and hardware and frame rate, when you said Unreal, I'm like, oh, Unreal's coming home because that was like the old the old chainsaw on Unreal.
Oh yeah.
I'm happy for this. I'm not happy with the context. I'm looking forward to Gears 5. Gear 6. Drell, I know we got to co-op it.
Yes.
And I'm just saying it. We're kind of calling it now, dude. The second Gear 6 drops.
We all should co-op it.
I'll say we
Hopefully,
all
there's
should
more
co-op
than
it.
three. More than three people co-op.
Also, if there's a robot, I did like the mechanic of adding a robot player in the campaign. Jack was fun. Beep boop boop boop. I'm happy again, not with the context, but hearing like tangible things about Gears of War 6 puts me in a positive mood.
Because I know,
As it should.
because for me, like this to me, this is the only issues that to me that I can see as far as for Microsoft is like having those like mascot IPs, like and having consistency with like releasing them, and a lot of times as Xbox players we have to wait a long time, you know what I mean, and then there's just so much riding on them. So like I've been waiting on Gear 6 for quite a while. I enjoyed Gears 5 quite a bit, and obviously we talked about Halo, what fucking mess that's in. But when it comes to Gears, yeah, so many good memories. You know what I mean? Like that's one. Like Marcus Phoenix. Like even though he's like super old, not like it's super. He's definitely one of those. He's still one of those mascots. Whether Dead or Alive or whatever. But it's just like, you think of Xbox when you think of Gears of War. You know what I mean? And just the gameplay and everything. It's just it really solidifies how great of a console Xbox is. So I'm excited to see this. I definitely understand what your point, Church, as far as like I want them to diversify, make some other stuff, you know what I mean? Like give them like have that value, you know what I mean? Definitely understand that, but I do think that Phil Spencer really needs to shine a light on Gears and make sure that that is definitely in development, because it's gonna do crazy numbers. You know what I mean? Crazy numbers for Xbox. So
Hey Drell, if we get an interview real quick, I'll say if we get an interview, Phil Spencer saying, "Don't worry, Gears of War is going to survive this game."
we're like, no.
Be very concerned.
What were you gonna say, Church?
I was just thinking, man. Yeah, I think they're just pushing Gears, man. Quote me now. I'm gonna do a prediction. I think Gears 6. Well, I think they're pushing Gears now because Halo did so bad.
Yeah.
I think we need something. Go
True.
make this great. But times Gears 6 comes out, there will be a movie or a TV show of Gears. That's what I foresee happening coming in the future. That's my
starring
prediction.
Dave Bautista.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
Dave
man,
Bautista,
I hope
The
so.
Rock.
I hope so, dude, because he has been on a Gears of War Marcus Phoenix campaign for like over like years. Like,
Yo.
He's a
literally
DLC.
years.
He's a DLC skin. He's a skin.
Yep. It's the relationship's already there, man, and trust me. And he's not playing Drax anymore.
Right.
So he's opened up his schedule. I'm telling you, man, it's gonna come.
Yeah,
It's gonna come,
amazing.
which is good.
Yeah,
I just don't know if I want a movie or a TV show when it comes to Gears of War.
that's a good point.
I don't know.
I would be down for a TV
Go.
show, but I'm weary on what studio, because if it's like Amazon, I'm very worried. But if it's on like HBO, I'll be like, oh fuck yeah, you know what I mean? So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm thinking if it's a show, first of all, miniseries, because for me, like to a point, like Last of Us and the Faulties of Halo, to a point, TV show means drama, means story. I'm not saying Gears of War doesn't have drama. I'm not saying Gears of War doesn't have story, but it's in moments. It's not like panned out.
Yeah.
Like to a point, I mean, they might be able to do it, but like, let's say the type of episode we saw for Last of Us may not work for like a Gears of War. It's like I would be the guy of like, cool, where's my chainsaws? Oh man, that guy and his boyfriend's dead. Where's my chainsaws?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, you're right. Gears of War is one of those like intensive. Like there needs to be like action and like fast pace.
Go.
Yeah. So you're 100% right with that.
The other thing I'm thinking too. So one, there's no way this can't be on Game Pass.
Yeah, I was
two,
gonna ask you guys that.
Well, for my thing, because for me that almost feels like a given. Because again, OG Game Pass was OG Game Pass was nothing but a Halo Gears machine. That's all it was. You were just paying 15. You were paying $10 a month to play every Halo and every Gears of War. That's what it was. I wanted to say, I hope I want them, whether it's an E3 or a showcase, whatever, to come out and say no battle passes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. But it sucks too.
Battle pass, bro.
It's it sucks too, man, because that's just another standard model in the gaming industry, like that consistent revenue and people, having the being active on servers like battle passes and shit. Unfortunately, that's the model. You know what I mean? So it would be nice if there wasn't a battle pass, but unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to eat that. So
bring back the old season pass thing. I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. Same here.
Definitely.
I think I'm waiting for the next iteration of like a microtransactions to do it. I think Halo Infinite idea of seasons really cool. You pay for the battle pass once and you can have it forever.
Right.
So there's no rush, there's no time. You play the game, you could just unlock it. I think that needs to be adopted. But that's the thing. So
that adaptation was a breath of fresh air into this battle pass thing. In terms of like, oh, you missed your window, oh, you got to level 80, sorry, you'll never get this. Where it's like, no, you got it. You do. Hey, you're on that grind of a job. You do you, boo. We got you.
Yeah.
Everything else missed the mark, but that was
and we know it.
That. But I, again, as a guy, I'm not a battle pass fan, stuff like that. I did think George is right. Their iteration, their take on that is something that we should kind of hold on to a little longer for other games.
Definitely. Well, folks, this is coming to a close here for the Gamers for Life podcast. Again, every Friday/Saturday, discussing all things games. And before we end, actually, I wanted to end with the games that are coming up in the fantasy drive, in the fantasy draft here, that we're going to be discussing in the upcoming weeks, because these games are coming out around the corner. Hogwarts Legacy, February 10th. What's the publisher? Anyone change your publisher name? We'll do that soon. Around the corner, Like a Dragon, Ishin, Dave Martinez. That's going to be out on the 21st of February. Atomic Heart on the 21st, supposedly. That's just going to be pushed back. Fuck that.
No, it's going out. We got gameplay last week.
Octopath Traveler 2, the 24th. So this month is all y'all, which is crazy. So that makes me a little sad, because a lot of my shit comes out later in half of the year. But hopefully you guys' your stuff gets some pretty sweet reviews. So Godspeed on that.
I will say it real quick. My first boy out the bat's coming out strong. Number one selling game on Steam right now, Hogwarts Legacy, just through pre-orders alone. So I got hopes.
Hopefully there's some positive reviews with those where it's like, this is dog shit. I know.
I do plan on definitely streaming it. Definitely gonna go Evil Ravenclaw. Like I said, it's like I'm proud of this joke. I don't care. It's stupid. Like I was telling Jarrell, it's like Stupefy. Nah, you're gonna meet God. All day.
Have you done the personality Harry Potter test? Are you in fact a Ravenclaw?
I did years ago. Because to be fair, that stuff I feel like that stuff makes its rounds like every 5 years.
Yeah.
I did that on the remember Facebook years ago when there was that version of it.
Yeah.
That's the one I did.
Okay.
And yeah, it was Ravenclaw.
I'm a Hufflepuff and I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, again, Gamers Friday podcast. He's near Friday Saturday, discussing all things games and more videos. Jarrell. With me is my man Church and Arthur Thomas.
Hey.
Hey.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.